Yeah, okay, so check it out. Look at what I got on the screen right now. I have the word, I spelled it wrong right there. Look, I put F-I-C-U, right? But I wanted to look for fiduciary, right? You know, fiduciary, right? Because this word has been going around the public right now because our public servants, you know, which they happen to be a fiduciary for us, right? When I say us, I mean we the people, right? So all of our public servants are fiduciaries of we the people, right? So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to do this bit, and we're going to do the grand jury bit, right? But, you know, we just wanted to lay this word out right here and then do our word flow, right? You know, so check this out, right? Here we go. Boom. You know, we got this right here. We always want to get our foundations down right now, right? You know, we always want to start off with Genesis 1:26, you know, because we like to know this right here, right? So, and God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them, meaning man, meaning woman, have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth. Remember that, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, right? So God gave man dominion over everything, right? Which means man is the fiduciary of all the earth, right? Scary simple, right? All right, let's keep it going. Right, so we like this one right here, you know, Luke 11:52, right? This is another foundation one right here because it always sets up the boundaries, because we have a lot of lawyers out there right now who are not helping the people, right? They're causing confusion, right? We don't like that, right? So check this out, right? Look at Luke 11:52. Woe unto you lawyers, for ye, meaning you, have taken away the key of knowledge, right? So the lawyers have taken away the key of knowledge from the people that they're supposed to serve, the people. Why do they do that, right? We don't know why they do that, but for some strange reason, the lawyers seem to be the adversary of the people right now. Not all lawyers, but a lot of lawyers that we see that go on the screen and go, blah, 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 I'm doing my legal duties and blah, blah, blah. You know, it seems like they're always trying to go against the best wishes of we the people, right? And we don't like that now, right? And that's why we're stepping back in, you know, we're just letting the lawyers know what's up, right? All right, so check this out. Here goes the word fiduciary, right? You know, what does it even mean? It's so simple. It means to trust, right? It means to trust, right? And then that's just it, right? You know, when you trust, you're solid. And when you're solid, you're firm, man. Scary simple, right? You know, check this out. Look at this, right? So when you scroll down and you see trust is behead. Right, that's always hard to say, right? To trust, to confide, persuade, right? But then it has all of these other words are linked with trust, right? But then you see this right here when you track it down, right? You got faith, confidence, honesty, right? You know, trust again, faith, confidence, right? Belief, right? Credence, oath, right? Oath, right? So we're already back at the word to ask, right? You know, to ask, beg, or pray, right? This is just what's up with these words, man. They're really easy once you track them down. And once you track these words down, you're going to be free, man. Right? You know, so let's keep it going. Hey, guys, people, what's up, man? All right, so this one is for you right here, right? So we're doing this one, right, because we're seeing a lot of God's people, you know, they're speaking and they're talking on the screens right now because we were hanging out on the YouTube, and then the YouTube people have these people called the 2A people. The 2A people means the Second Amendment people, and then you have some of them which are lawyers, and then they're talking about like these cases that are going on right now, and because there's a lot of good cases that are going on right now because the Second Amendment shall not be infringed, right? You know, so all people can get their arms, right? You know, we just have the duty and the obligation to protect our property, and our property is God's property too, because we're the fiduciaries of God's property, right? Your body is God's property. Therefore, you have a responsibility to protect God's property, a fiduciary responsibility, right? You know, so now we're just showing God's people what's up right now, man, because, you know, we're getting the words down, man. Scary simple, right? You know, here we go. Let's get our order down. This is our timeout. We always flow with the timeout because we always got to set our boundaries before we take off, right? Remember, order. God created world, check. God created man, aka people, check. People created states, check. People created constitutions, check. People created governments, check. Question: when did government become boss of the people? All right, so let's go ahead and look at this, right? You know, so we always like to start off with the maxim. We always like to start off with 11, and we always like to show the authority, the power, the servant, and the jurisdiction, and that's why we use 11a, right? 11a says a delegated power cannot be again delegated. right? A deputy cannot have or appoint a deputy, right? So God delegated power to me to protect God's property, the body, right? So I cannot then again delegate that power to someone else and says that, here, God gave me this ability to protect my body, and then now I'm going to go ahead and give it to you, and I'm just going to go ahead and not even care, right? No, I can't do that, man, because I have a responsibility, right? So the authority that I serve is God, right? I serve the Most High, I serve God, right? And then God said, okay, you have to do this, and I'm like, all right, cool, man, got it, good. Now, and this is why, as above, as below, right? The same thing that's in the inside should be the same thing that's on the outside, right? So when we look at our public servants, because our public servants are all delegated power, right? We've delegated them abilities and power, right? But then they can't go ahead and delegate that ability and power to someone else, right? And this is just what we look for all the time. It's so easy, right? All right, so check this out. So one of the tools that we use to do that with is with the grand jury, right? Scary simple, right? Look at the function, right? The function of the grand jury is to investigate. That means look at the operations. That means how it's fit together of the various officers, departments, and agencies of local government, right? Because we, the people, are the bosses of all government. Remember that, man. This is just what we do right now, right? All right, so let's get some more foundations, right? So here goes the California Constitution and in the preamble. And before we walk, because that's what preamble means, right? We always want to set up and show the foundation. Remember, we the people of the state of California, right? Or whatever other state that you may be in, grateful to Almighty God. Hey, God, thanks for the shine. For our freedom in order to secure and perpetuate its blessings do establish this Constitution, right? So every Constitution has a preamble because the creators of the Constitution are the people, and then the people show you, meaning our public servants or whoever reads the Constitution, we show what the order is of the hierarchy, right? So we're grateful, meaning the people are grateful to God, right? Because we got our ability from God, right? And then the people created the constitutions. And all of our public servants operate within this Constitution. Remember that. Those are the rules that they're bound to. This is the contract, right? So check this out. So we like to come to the Declaration of Rights. All constitutions, all states' constitutions have Declaration of Rights. Here's the one in Article 1 of the California Constitution, right? And then you see this also. California is a republic. Remember that, republic, right? So whenever you hear the public servants go on the screen and go, our democracy, just know that, they don't know what's up, man. They're tricking you. They're trying to trick you because we are not a democracy. We have nothing to do with democracy. Demos is district, district rule, to divide. We don't divide. We're all united and we're all one, right? So California is a republic, right? Red meaning of, public meaning people, right? We're of the people. Scary simple, right? So check this out. Look at section 1, right? Here goes. I'm going to let you know what's up, right? All people are by nature free, right? Whenever you see by nature, that means by God. Done. Remember that, right? We always laying it out in our rights, man. It's just so fun, right? Once you read these, you're going to be free, man. And independent and have inalienable rights. You can't take them away. You can't take away any of the rights, man. We're just letting you know what's up, right? So among these are enjoying and defending life and liberty, acquiring, possessing, and protecting property, and pursuing and obtaining safety, happiness, and privacy, right? So if ever any of these are interfered with by any of our public servants, right, we're coming after you, man. We're going to come after you for this thing called maladministration because, you're being a bad small master, right? We're going to come after you for treason, right, because you're betraying the trust of the people and you're handing it over to something else, right? And then we're going to come after you for war, right, because you're causing confusion, right? Because we know who the boss is, right? And if you interfere with any of our freedom, if you interfere with any of our happiness, if you interfere with any of our property, we're going to get you, man, every time. All right. So check it out. Let's keep it going. Right. So we like this illustration right here because this shows you the basic structure of all governments. Right. So God is always up top because God created the world and everything that we live in. right? You know, God created man, woman, child, the people, right? So then the people are right here, right? And then the people created constitutions, right? And then the constitutions created the governments, right? And then the governments now have the ability to administer everything that falls underneath the government jurisdiction, which means all businesses, all corporations, all fall under here, right? You know, so the people are always on top, because on top of the people is God, right? So you got God, then you got the people, then you have the constitutions, right? Then you have our public servants, right? You see presidents right there, public servant. You see Congress is right there, public servant, right? All of these are public servants. You see this? Court, Supreme Court, right? The law people, right? People are bosses of all them, right? And then all corporations fall under here, right? So all the corporations are all down here, right? And you have to remember that, right? You know, so once you remember what the hierarchy is, you're going to be boss, man. It's stupid simple, right? You know, so let's keep it going. Hey, Cornell, what's up, right? You know, so we're going to hang out with Cornell, and we're going to show you what the fiduciary duty is, right? You know, what does it even say? It says, look at this, overview. When someone has a fiduciary duty to someone else, right, meaning the people, right, the person with the duty must act in a way that will benefit someone else, usually financially, right? It's not always financially, but what this means is that the fiduciary is supposed to do what is going to benefit or make whole or make one, you know, whoever it is that they've signed a contract with, right? You know, so all of our public servants have a fiduciary duty to make sure that this right here is always happening, right? They have a fiduciary duty to make sure that all people are by nature free, right? They have a fiduciary duty to make sure that all the people are independent, right? And they have to make sure that all the people's rights are, you know, inalienable, right? You know, so if any of these are interfered with, then that means that you're breaching your fiduciary duty, right? And then we're going to get you for maladministration every time, right? It's really simple, right? So here goes other entities that have fiduciary duty. Corporations, they have fiduciary duties, right? So if any of the corporations have interfered with you and said that, hey, you got to put something in your body or something on your face if you want to come here and work and earn property, right? You know, that's a breach in their fiduciary duty, and you can get them every time for maladministration. You can get them for treason. You can get them for war, right? You know, this is just how it flows, right? Who else is it, right? We love this right here. The duty of loyalty means that all directors and officers of corporations working in their capacity as corporate fiduciaries must act without personal economic conflict, right? You know, so like an example of this would be, you know, like say if you get money from a federal agency in order for you to do something as a corporate entity, right? That's going to be called a conflict, right? That's a conflict, right? You know, an example would be is like if a corporation is told by the government or the federal entity that they must have all of their, air quotes here, employees have substances in their body or have something on their face or meet these requirements, right? And if they do that, then they're going to get some funding, right? We call that an economic conflict, man. And we're going to get you every time for maladministration, treason, and war, man. It's really simple, right? Check this one out right here. We like this, the duty of care, man. You know, look at this, what this says. The duty of care is a fiduciary duty requiring directors and or corporate and or officers of a corporation to make decisions that pursue the corporation's interests with reasonable diligence and prudence, right? It's simple, right? But remember, whoever the boss is of the corporations are always the people, right? You know, so if it's not making the people, if it's not in the best interest of the people, right? You know, because it has nothing to do with what they call your shareholders are, your stock or whatever those things are. See right here, the stakeholders or the broader society. The broader society means that's the people, right? You know, so you have a duty of care to make sure that you are serving the people. That is what your fiduciary responsibility is, right? It's not anything else. You just have to make sure that the people are playing over here, right? You have to make sure that the people are free and independent, right? You can't interfere with any of that, right? So if you're a corporation and you're interfering with the freedom of the people, if you're interfering with the independence of the people, if you're interfering with the life, the liberty, or acquiring, possessing, and protecting property, and pursuing and obtaining safety, happiness, and privacy. If your corporation interferes with any of that stuff, we're going to get you. We're going to get you every time for maladministration. We're going to get you for treason, and we're going to get you for war, right? Scary simple, right? Let's keep it going. The way that we do that now within their code, your code, this is what your lawyers understand, right, is that if you deprive the people of their rights under the color of law, we're going to get you. We're going to get you for maladministration, we're going to get you for treason, and we're going to get you for war, right? So if you cause conflict, right, by making people have to do steps, right? Or if like an example would be is like if you want to track the people, right? So if the people are going out into their markets, right? And then they're saying, hey, I want to buy something, right? And then they go to a market and then the market says, okay, we're going to buy, you're going to let you get something, how do you pay? And if you pay with a credit card or a debit card or any type of, means of currency, right? And then they say, okay, well, now we're going to track you, right? And then they track you electronically or anything like that. That means they're depriving you of your rights, right, under the color of law, because what they're saying is that they have to do it because what they're saying is that the fiduciary called the government, right, is telling them that they have to do it, right? That's a no-no. That's no good, right? So now all of the people, once you understand this game, right, once you understand that the people are the bosses of all governments, right, all constitutions, the people, we the people are their boss, right, which means that by default the people are the bosses of all corporations, right? Because all corporations fall under the jurisdiction of the government. Remember that, right? Remember that. So if you're a corporate entity and you're registered to some type of state and you're an LLC, an S Corp, a private, a partnership, what else do they have out there, right? The incorporated ones. If you send in any documents to the state, right, and then now you have a little piece of paper where you have your little business license or anything like that that's coming from the government, and then they stamp you and they say you can do business now within the people's market, that means you're a servant of the people. That means that you have a fiduciary responsibility to make sure that the people are happy and whole, right, and one. And if you don't, then we're going to get you every time for deprivation of rights under the color of law, right? An example of this would be is like, so say if I want to go into a store and I want to get my arms, right, because I'm like, hey, I need some arms. I just want to go buy some arms. And I'm walking into the store, and then now you got the store staff member who's in there, and they say, okay, well, if you want to buy this, then you got to fill out all of this paperwork, right? And then I'm like, wait, how did this happening? I don't feel free. I don't feel happy. I feel like you're trying to invade my privacy. You're asking me all sorts of private information in order for me to buy something in the market, right? Who are you? Where did you get this authority from? Why are you telling me that this is what the law is when I know that that's not what the law is, right? Because the law is so simple. It's right here. All people are by nature free, right? It's so simple right here. The people are on top right here. We're the bosses, right? All corporations are all right here. And then all governments are all right here, right? All of our executives are all right here. All of our legislatures are all right here, right? So if we're on top right here as the people, how is it that now that our little people down, or our little creations down here are trying to tell the creator how to be and how to live, man? You can't do that. An example of that would be is that, I'm a man. I can't tell God how it's supposed to be. God tells me how it's supposed to be, and I follow what God says, because that's how the hierarchy goes, man. Right? And if I ever deviate from that, then that means I'm a fallen one, right? Then that means I'm way down here. That means I'm walking with the adversary, right? Because the hierarchy is so simple, is because I follow what God says, right? And I don't question what God says, because God's the boss of man, right? So then when God says, you just got to go out there and you just got to love, right? And I'm like, okay, got it, good. That's a scary, simple rule, right? And then if I come down here to a creation of man, right? Because all constitutions are creations of man, right? All governments are creations of man, right? All corporations are creations of man, right? And if my creature, is trying to tell me how to be, then we got a problem, right? We're going to have a problem, because you don't tell the creator how to be, okay? All creations don't tell the creator how to be, right? You just follow what the creator says, man. It's really easy, okay? So let's keep it going, right? Merchant, right? We're building right here. We're building the show right here, because we're going to show you what's up, because We're showing you about deprivation of rights under the color of law. Now we're going to show you what the merchant is, right? The merchant means to trade, traffic, deal in, right? Market, right? Market, right? So now we're going to track down market, right? And then when you track down market, right? Market, look at this one right here, right? You still got it right here. To trade, deal in, buy from Merc. Wares, wares, right? So when you go to wares and merchandise, these are just the goods and things that you can see, right? So once you can see things, right, then you're cool. We're back to our senses, right? Trade is another one. Trade means track, course, right? That's a pathway, man. So whatever it is that you're going on, however you're walking, right? That's your trade, right? So check this out right here. So here goes a news source, right? This is a news source, and here goes one of the public servants right here. So here's a public servant who wants credit card companies, which is another public servant, to track arms and arms purchases, right? So whenever you see these words right here, like the gun, right, and then the ammunition, those are just other terms for arms, right? So your arms are your arms, man. Your arms are your hands, and that's just anything that you can put in your hands or your arms, right? And no government, no public servant can interfere with our arms, right? So a senator is a public servant. A credit card company is a public servant, right? Scary simple, right? So then when you see right here, it says the public servant and a group of nearly 40 more public servants are urging public servant called credit card companies to track arms, right? Done. Well, how are they doing that? So then if you go right here, you see they say in a letter, right? So you're like, oh, okay, let's see what they wrote in the letter, right? So the letter says the Congress of the United States, right? So check this out. Remember, Congress is right here. The people are right here. The Constitution is right here, right? So how are these entities right here, the creator or the creatures of the people, because we created Congress, how are they now interfering with our ability to get our arms, right? It's really funny how they try to do this, right? So look at what they do, right? They wrote a letter, right? They use the headline of We the People, right? And then they say, we write to urge American Express to support the creation of a new merchant category code, MCC. What is that? Right? What is an MCC? That sounds like something that, one of our public servants would know what's up about, right? So, what we did was we went and looked up what the MCC was, right? Because we're trying to see that they're trying to create, so the creatures that the people created now are trying to create something, for our merchants, right? So our creations are trying to create a new creation for another one of our entities, right? And then they're trying to cause confusion. They're trying to hand over the trust of the people, and then what they're being right now is called bad small masters, or they're in maladministration, right? Because if you're trying to make our markets difficult for us to go and pick up our goods and to pick up our services, right? Because you wish to track us, right? Meaning the people, because you wish to track what you call a gun, right? A gun is an arm, right? So if you wish to track our arms, right, that means that you are breaching the trust of the people, right? Because, the right to bear arms shall not be infringed on, man. It's really simple, right? So let's go ahead and look at what the MCC is, right? So you got the merchant category codes, right? What are the merchant category codes, right? So we went to Investopedia, right? And then look at this. It says merchant category codes are 4-digit numbers that a credit card issuer uses to categorize the transaction of consumers. Oh, okay. So you're trying to categorize the consumers, right? With the card, right? So that's funny. So what they're using is that they're using the credit cards, and the purchases or the things that you buy when you are considered a consumer, right? So this is called trickery right here. So they're using the label consumer to track the people through their credit cards, right? So then that way they can see what they are buying, right? And then from there, they do all sorts of other trickery, right? So check this out, right? We're going to show you what's up now. So we went to the Investopedia, right? And we were like, or Investopedia, we went to the Infogalactic, the Planetary Knowledge Corps, right? So this is another encyclopedia, right? And we looked up the merchant category code, right? And then it said the same thing. When businesses first start accepting one of these cards as a form of payment, right? You know, so if you use a credit card as a form of payment, right, one of the many forms that we can use, right, then the government likes to track it, right? You know, so look at this right here where you scroll right here. In the United States, it can be used to determine whether or not a payment needs to be reported to the Internal Revenue Services for tax purposes, right? So this is how our public servants, right, you know, so these are creations of man, right, you know, so our public servant, this is delegated power right here, right, so this is a deputy of delegated power, which means they have no power, right, so the Internal Revenue Services, they have no power. Tax means to touch, right, so they're trying to touch the people's property, right, so what they're using is that they're using the merchant category code, right, because they're using descriptions within commercial codes, right, to go ahead and track the people, right, and then they're saying that they're using the trickery by using the hop of the IRS to say that, all right, we're going to see if that needs to be reported for a tax, right, but now what they do is that they have a whole category of classes in here that they can use to say, well, this is this type of product and this is that type of product, or this is this good and that's that good, right? Because all the companies have to be registered within the government, right? Because that's just how we made the game, right? You know, so all of the companies or corporations that are registered within the government then are using these payment networks and these payment schemes, right? You know, and then they're built, the IRS is built within that because they have to pay their taxes, right? You know, but then what they use is another category to say, well, you know, yes, that's taxable. No, that's not taxable, right? So this is how they're trying to track our arms, man, right? You know, so they're trying to track our arms through some trickery right now, right? Because delegated power cannot do this. A deputy cannot do this, right? You know, because all people, right here, I'm going to show you again, right? All people are by nature free, right? You know, and then among these are enjoying and defending life and liberty, right? We can get our arms at any time we want, right? We can protect our freedom at any time we want. We can buy whatever it is that we want as long as we don't harm man, woman, or child. We can possess whatever it is that we want as long as we don't harm man, woman, or child, right? We can protect our property and by any means necessary, right? And we can pursue and obtain safety, happiness, and privacy, right? So we wish to be private. So now what they're trying to do is they're trying to use these MCC codes to interfere with our privacy. They're trying to use these MCC codes to interfere with our happiness. They're trying to use these MCC codes to interfere with us getting property, right? You can't do that. You can't do that, man. You know, so we're just showing you guys what's up right now, right? So check this out, right? You know, so what we did was we saw it said ISO 8583, right? You know, so we clicked on that because, you know, the ISO stands for the International Organization for Standardization, right? You know, so all of the corporations use this, and then you have an ISO 8583, right? Financial transaction card originated messages, right? So you're like, oh, okay, well, what is that? Look, see, you know, it's all about the getting the messages and things like that. So I'm not even going to read this right here because you don't have to. But what you want to look up right here is the International Organization for Standardization. Who is this? What is this? We don't know, so let's look it up, right? You know, so when we look it up, the International Organization for Standardization, the ISO, because you see all these people follow the ISO, right? You know, it's a international standard setting body composed of representatives from various national standard organizations. What is that, right? You know, so then as you just look, it was founded in 23 February 1947. Oh, okay, founded, right? What is this entity? What do they do? What power and what ability do they have, right? Because I didn't create this as one of the people. I didn't create this entity right here that says that it can interfere with my market, right? You know, so why is this ISO now interfering with the people's market? I don't know, right? Look at what type of entity it is. It's a non-governmental organization. Oh, okay, it's an NGO, which means it falls under the jurisdiction of the corporations or the governments, right? You know, so you fall under we the people. So now we're seeing we the people are your boss, right? But you're headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland. So you're not even part of the United States of America, right? You're not a part of whatever state that we may be in. So how is a organization that's coming from Geneva, Switzerland now dictating to the people what the people can and can't do, right? You know, I don't know. I don't think you have that ability. I don't think you have that authority, right? Because all of a sudden you look just like delegated power to me, and we didn't delegate any power to you, right? You know, so what else is about this entity right here, right? Let me show you something, right? Look, see this right here? Overview. It is the world's largest developer of voluntary international standards, right? So this is a voluntary international standard, right? So you don't even have to accept it, right? You wish to accept it, right? So check this out. It began in 1926. We don't care, but look at the structure, right? The ISO is a voluntary organization, right? It's voluntary. You just stop right there, right? You know, so we the people did not volunteer for this organization. We the people don't fall under the jurisdiction of this organization, right? So this organization is the organization that create the merchant category code, right? You know, so now how is it that an international organization, right, because it says it right here, this is an international organization based out of Geneva, Switzerland. How are they now being able to interfere with the people's ability to conduct trade in their commercial markets? I don't think they can, man. It sounds like our public servants are using outside entities to interfere with the people's ability to be happy and free, right? You know, so that's what's up, man. You know, so listen, public servant right here, you know, public servant of the government, right? Don't mess with the people's stuff, right? Public servant called credit card companies. You guys don't have the ability to mess with the people's stuff, right? You know, so right here, you know, we're just showing you an example of deprivation of rights under the color of law, right? Because the ISO is a voluntary organization, right? So they're using a voluntary standard to, as if it is some form of law, right? You know, and they're trying to color it in within the law, right? By saying that because you fall under the commercial category because you're a business or a corporation that is registered to the state, right? You know, so here, I'll show you right here, right? You know, so corporations fall under here, right? You know, the Congress is right here, and then they make sure that the markets are safe for the people, right? That's it, right? So as long as the markets aren't harming man, woman, child, or the people, we're cool, right? You know, so what Congress is trying to do now is that they're trying to tell another outside entity, right, you know, who still falls under here, that they say, hey, you have to create a whole new category to track certain purchases that the people are making, right? Because we want to make sure that they're buying the proper things or not buying the proper things. So no commercial entity has that ability or have that power, right? You know, so right now I'm thinking that, you know, there might be there's probably going to be, there probably already is one, a notice, right, that is just going to notify the Congress that they don't have this ability to interfere with the people's ability to trade, right? You know, they don't have that ability, right? And then now we're going to just show them what's up again, right? You know, because I'm pretty sure that there's a job form linked within the description, right? Because we already had a conversation about this one before, right? Because Congress is always trying to interfere with the people's ability to do trade, right? You know, and then they try to make it difficult for the corporations, you know, so then the corporations are being used as a pawn in order for them to interfere with the people's ability to be free and happy, right? And you can't do that now, right? You know, so we're just showing you what's up, right? So this is an example. This is an open example of maladministration, of treason, right, you know, of war, right? You know, so this senator right here, you know, coming from a particular state, and also, right, you know, there's also 40 other congressional public servants right here who also sign their name, right? You know, here, I'll show you. So all of these people, right, who wrote this letter, you know, right, from the United States Senator, public servant, right? You got a member of Congress, right? So you got public servants who all put their name down, right? They all put their name down, and then they're all basically opening. This is an open example of them committing maladministration, of them committing treason, of them committing war against the people's ability to be free and happy, right? So that's it. I'm done, man. You know, I'm done with this bit right here. So, you know, let's go ahead and close it out, right? You know, so we always like to show this one right here, Psalms 82:6, man, because this one just shows that we're all the same, and we're all one family, man. Scary simple, right? Psalms 82:6 says, I have said, yea, are gods, right? Little g. And all of you are children of the Most High, right? So Big G is telling little g what's up, right? And we're all children of Big G, right? You know, so every man, every woman, every child, it doesn't matter where you are, what color you are, what you look like, right? If you're a man, if you're a woman, right, then that means that we're family, right? Because we all come from the Most High. We're all children of the Most High, man. It's simple, right? And then we all have a fiduciary responsibility to administer the Most High's property, which means your body, right? You know, so you have a duty and an obligation to administer the Most High's property. And if you do that, that's cool. If you don't do that, we show you how to do that. And then we just keep it scary simple and we keep it cool, man. All right, let's keep it going. You know, let's hang out with my man John 11. We like John 11 because he just keeps it simple, right? He says, in the beginning was the Word, done. And the Word was with God, done. And the Word was God, done, right? You know, so we showed you a bunch of words, right? You know, and these words, you know, are all of God, right? Because you know why? God made man in the image of God, right? And then that means that God made all these little g's, right? And we're all children of the Most High, so we're all the children of Big G. And then we all have to make sure that we're all happy, and we all have to make sure that we're all free, and then we all have to make sure that all of our property is protected, right? And then we also have to make sure that our delegated power, right, and our deputies don't interfere with our ability to be able to be free and happy in the world that we live in, because God created the world for us to be happy and free in, man. All right, it's really simple. All right, so let's go ahead and close out with our time out. Remember, God created the world, check. God created man, aka the people, check. People created states, check. People created constitutions, check. People created governments, check. Question: when did government become boss of the people? Answer: never, ever, ever, ever. Right? The people have been the boss of everything. You know why? Because that's what God said, man. You know, God created man in the image of man, God. It's really simple, right? You know, and once you know that, you're going to be free. And then you have to be boss of everything else, man. So, you know, so if you heard these words, you know, and if you're a man, and if you're a woman, and if you're a child, you now know that you have a fiduciary responsibility to administer God's dominion. And that means the whole earth. That means everything, right? So when you look up, that means that you have a responsibility to make sure that everything that is up and everything that is down is going okay, and it's all cool, and everybody is happy, and everybody's free, you know, and everybody's just having a good time, and everybody's getting their property on, and everybody's just doing their thing, right? So if you ever see that there's another entity that man has created trying to interfere with other man or other woman or other child's ability to be free, happy, or safe, or anything like that, you have a duty and you have an obligation to hold them to the standards, right? Because we will get them for maladministration, we will get them for treason, we will get them for war every time, right? You know, so once we all associate together and we all have a good time and we all are under the same contract because we all can agree on the terms and the conditions, man, we're gonna have a bunch of fun. All right, well, that's it. I'm done with this bit, man. You know, I just wanted to lay it out, right? And I just wanted to show you, man, that like we can get so many entities, right? So many entities for deprivation of rights under the color of law, right? And then all you have to do is, once you understand that God is up top, right? God created man, right? Man are the people, right? And then the people created constitutions, right? And then the people are bosses of all constitutions, which means we're the boss of this whole realm, right? You know, so if you're a bank, the people are the boss of you. Remember that, right? Remember that, right? You know, so if you're a government entity, the people are the bosses of you. Remember that. If you're a corporation, the people are the bosses of you. Remember that, right? So if you're a merchant, right, and then you have some type of registration coming behind your name, or if you have a license or anything like that, that means the people are the bosses of you, right? And if you interfere with any of the happiness of the people, we're coming after you, man, because that's what we do, right? Because we have a duty and we have an obligation to protect God's dominion. And that's just what we do. And we do it in love, man. All right, so I'll talk to you guys in the future. Remember, nobody's having more fun than us. Bye.